You are watching Luntha television and it's time for news. My name is Helbert Kachanda. Now let's have a look at our top stories. Pope Francis appoints Archbishop Belstrero as Vatican's representative to the UN office on specialized urgencies in Geneva. Chakwera arrives from Ghana. Malawi Law Society summons lawyer Sylvester Ayuba James to disciplinary hearing for misconduct. And in news from elsewhere, a Rwandan genocide suspect seeks asylum in South Africa. Well, we have these and more other stories to stay tuned then. Pope Francis has appointed Archbishop Belstrero, former apostolic nuncio to the Democratic Republic of Congo, as the Vatican's representative to the United Nations office and specialized agencies in Geneva, the World Trade Organization and the International Organization for Migration. The Archbishop will also be the Holy See's representative at the International Organization for Migration. The Archbishop hails from the northern Italian city of Genoa. We have the details.
Prior to this assignment, Archbishop Belstrero served as Apostolic Nuncio in the Democratic Republic of Congo. In this capacity, the prelate accompanied Pope Francis during his apostolic journey from 31st January to 5th February to the Central African country. He arrived in Kinshasa in July 2018 after leading the Apostolic Nunciature in Colombia for some 5 years, during which he supported the government's agreement with the FARC guerrilla movement to achieve peace signed in 2016. As nuncio, he accompanied the Pope during his 2017 trip to the Latin American country. Having entered the Holy See's diplomatic service in 1996, Monsignor Belstrero has held posts in Korea, Mongolia, and the Netherlands. Starting in 2001, he served in the Secretariat of State before being appointed on the 17th of August 2009 by Pope Benedict XVI as Undersecretary for Relations with States. He held this position from 2009 to 2013.
President Lazarus Chakwera has arrived in the country last night from Ghana, where he attended the 30th annual meetings of the African Export-Import Bank. The president jetted in through Kamuzi International Airport on Tuesday night and was welcomed by Vice President Saulo Chilima and other government officials. While in Ghana, the president, among other highlights, participated in a panel discussion as part of the events making the bank's 30th annual meeting, where he rooted for the inclusion of women and youth in the development space by taking them on board in continental trade. The Malawi Law Society has summoned to disciplinary hearing private practice lawyer Sylvester Ayuba James following a complaint lodged by his client Bile Matita Gama, who was sued by one of his suppliers in a civil matter. The meeting is expected to take place on the 27th of June 2023. According to the summon, James is being charged with conduct which may amount to embezzlement and failure to provide competent representation to a client. Jacqueline Saidi reports.
Speaking in an interview with Luntha television, spokesperson for Malawi Law Society, Gabriel Chambezi, says he is not going to give much information on the matter as it might jeopardize the process. He has rather noted that once everything is done in line with the summoned disciplinary meetings, the Society will communicate to the public the determinations made.
As Malawi Law Society, for now, we cannot say anything on that. But all I can say is that Malawi Society provides periodic updates on final determinations of disciplinary matters to the public. So we only update the public we only update the public on final determinations of disciplinary processes. But for now, we cannot comment on the summons that is circulating in the media to avoid jeopardizing the process.
Part of the summons states that Gama was advised to deposit 60 million kwacha into James's personal account while waiting for reconciliation with the supplier. Meanwhile, despite several transactions in the process, a default judgment was entered against Gama, which someone states that is due to James's conduct and failure to carry out instructions. For Luntha Television News, this is Jacqueline Saidi.
Defense and Security Committee of Parliament has given a note to the National Registration Bureau's law review exercise on the Act to accommodate the mandate of registering refugees. The committee's chairperson, Raf Joma, pledged to the Bureau's exercise following the meeting with NRB and Immigration Department officials on their involvement in the refugees and asylum seekers exercise. This comes barely days after local media reported that Malawi's citizenship was being sold to refugees unlawfully. Robert Edward explains.
Now, according to the Department of Immigration and Citizenship Services, there are about 503 immigrants that were targeted and they were captured. Out of those, 8 of them were undocumented whatsoever, and they've been deported in their respective countries of origin, and others have been sent to Zareka refugee camp. They and the National Registration Bureau, NRB, appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Security. According to the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Homeland Security responsible for national registration, the country needs some legal fine-tunes to the NRB Act to allow them to be registering the refugees at the point of being given the status.
This is yet to happen. We have not been registering refugees because we didn't have the mandates.
In their remarks, the Immigration Department, they said that sometimes Malawians are too generous and too good to foreigners. They remove their patriotism and they aid foreigners to be staying in the country illegally.
We were appealing to the general public to be patriotic because we should love our country. Malawi is for us, it's not for another person. If we don't do the best for Malawi, nobody can come and do the best for us. We are saying this to the public because there are other people who are harboring the refugees, people who are in our communities.
According to the chairperson of the committee, Raf Juma, it is important to assist the two institutions, especially the NRB, to have their act reviewed because that will assist the country in having the rigid number of refugees in its system so that when the refugees or other asylum seekers are trying to find ways to get themselves into the system and obtain a national ID, the system should be flushing them out because they will be already existing as refugees or asylum seekers as they were registered. According to the chairperson, the UNHCR estimates that there are about 8,000 refugees and asylum seekers living outside Zareka, but the exercise for relocation has only managed to deal with or capture at least nearly 2,000. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
You're still watching news right here on Luntha Television and on our various social media platforms. Now let's have a look at our top stories once more before we proceed. Pope Francis appoints Archbishop Belstrero as Vatican's representative to the UN Office on Specialized Urgencies in Geneva. Chakwera arrives from Ghana. Malawi Law Society summons lawyer Sylvester Ayuba James to disciplinary hearing for misconduct. And in news from elsewhere, a Rwandan genocide suspect seeks asylum in South Africa. Moving on, the African Institute of Corporate Citizenship is empowering women to be active in cotton production and value-added chain in Balaka district as a way of amplifying women's voice in agricultural sector. The move is meant to support women economically as they take part in the production of the crop, which is usually dominated by men. AICC is optimistic that the project will encourage women to do more. From Balaka, Rashida Matandika reports.
The project is called Implementing Women Economic Empowerment in the Cotton Value Chain in Cotton Production, whereby women are being capacitated in value-added chain and marketing strategies to empower them economically. According to Khadija Linjes, the project is using women champions to change the way things have been running from their households to the communities so that men believe in women and run matters together without abusing them economically. She said when the project was brought to light, some men were not willing to let their women join the groups which empower them, but a few months later, things have changed.
Things have changed. I think we can even check the numbers with the cotton generaries. We have seen more women growing cotton, first of all. On top of that, we have seen that some of the men that were not comfortable in sending these women to some of the groups that we establish, they have now started sending them willingly.
Angelina Chimwaza, one of the champions under the project, said she has helped other women in gaining confidence in helping their families.
Most people were not aware on how to collaborate with their spouses, and others did not know that they were being abused.
The Office of Gender in the district has also commended the project since it is complementing their work. Gender officer at the district council, Scholastic Dutch, said projects that empower women help in reducing gender-based violence in form of economic abuse.
They are helping to prevent gender-based violence, but as well as to create self-reliance, but also a sense of responsibility among the beneficiaries. But also it's one way of preventing gender-based violence. But also they are trying to close that knowledge gap, but also trying to address and identify gender issues that are there in the households, especially in different communities.
The project is also promoting businesses for women and youth, and it aims at reaching out to more than 1,000 households in River Extension Planning Area under the Agriculture District Office in Balaka District.
The Ministry of Agriculture says it is optimistic about the successful implementation of the 2023-2024 Affordable Inputs Program, with the government's contracting unit approving the procurement of inputs for the upcoming 2023-2024 farming season. Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and Irrigation to give an update on the progress of the 2023-2024 AIP preparations, the Ministry's Principal Secretary, Dix Company, noted that concerns have been raised about the potential impact of shortage of foreign exchange. But company said the ministry is making progress on AIP, saying it is optimistic that the program will be timely. Tandio Mzumara with the details.
According to the Ministry of Agriculture, to help expedite supply, government has used restricted tender in the procurement of supplies for fertilizer, and so far 13 local suppliers have been identified, and Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets (PPDA) has already given in no objection, saying the negotiations and awarding of contracts to fertilizer suppliers will be done within this month. Whilst expressing concern that shortage of forex in the country will have an impact on the program, Principal Secretary Dixie Kampani said they are hopeful about successful implementation as the ministry has increased transport rates to attract more transporters and will ensure that there are 2 retail points per constituency as well as mobile vending to ensure that people have easy access to fertilizer. Company also disclosed that the commodity exchange deal between government and a Romanian company, East Bridge, has nothing to do with the Affordable Inputs Program AIP, as the company will be supplying 300,000 metric tons of fertilizer in exchange of assorted farm produce as for commercial fertilizer to be sold by smallholder farmers fertilizer revolving fund SFFRIFM.
We're just hoping that by the time they start ordering their fertilizer, at least there'll be adequate forex to be able to bring in the fertilizer. The beauty is we've started a bit early, meaning that we have time to monitor the availability.
In his remarks, Committee Chairperson Samir Suleiman has emphasized that the committee expects a better AIP this year, saying there is room to iron out challenges that the program faced last year.
The talk is always good. We want to see that the talk should match with the actions on the ground. It's also good to hear that we have some balances of fertilizer from last year, which will give us a head start before we receive the other consignments.
The Affordable Inputs Program has this year been allocated a total of 109.8 billion kwacha, out of which 102 billion kwacha will be used for the procurement of fertilizer, while 6.56 billion kwacha will be allocated for purchasing seeds. Additionally, 500 million kwacha has been set aside for the purchase of goats, and 600 million kwacha will be utilized for operational purposes. It has been disclosed that the country currently has a carryover stock of 13,570, and there are 87,000 metric tons of agricultural produce available at present. For Luntha News in Ilongwe, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
And now in news from elsewhere, ex-Rwandan police officer Fulgence Kayishema, accused of participating in the 1994 Rwandan genocide, has abandoned his application for bail and applied for asylum in South Africa, prosecuting authorities announced on Tuesday. Kayishema, who has been on the run since 2001, was arrested last month under false name of Donait Nawashumba on a grape farm outside Cape Town. The International Criminal Tribunal for Rwandan had indicated him for genocide for his alleged role in the destruction of Niaweni Catholic Church, one of the bloodiest episodes in 1994 Rwandan genocide, killing 2,000 people. We have the details.
Kayishema faces 54 charges in South Africa, including some related to immigration fraud. The National Prosecution Authority (NPA) announced in a statement and added that the 62-year-old accused has abandoned his bail application and will instead launch an asylum application today. The statement, however, did not indicate on what grounds Kayishema was applying for asylum. Spokesperson for NPA and the defense team did not immediately respond to requests from the Reuters news agency for further information. More than 800,000 Rwandan, most from the Tutsi ethnic group, were killed during 100 days of violence by forces and vigilantes from the Hutu ethnic group. Thousands of moderate Hutus were also killed in the violence, considered one of the worst atrocities of the 20th century. At the Nyange church, Yitu militia robbed the grenades and then doused it with fuel to set it ablaze. When that failed, they knocked down the church with bulldozers, and most of those hiding inside died. He has denied any involvement in violence during the genocide, but has said he was sorry for the killings during his court appearance in the South African city of Cape Town in May.
And that's the news for now, but before we go, a reminder of our top stories. Pope Francis appoints Archbishop Belstrero as Vatican's representative to the UN Office on Specialized Urgencies in Geneva. Chakwera arrives from Ghana. Malawi Law Society summons lawyer Sylvester Ayuba James to disciplinary hearing for misconduct. And in news from elsewhere, a Rwandan genocide suspect seeks asylum in South Africa. My name is Helbert Katanda. Thanks for watching, and it's goodbye for now.